Entering the Mayo Experience.
Mayo Experience. Mayo Experience. Mayo Experience. Experience.
Welcome to the Pat Mayo Experience, kicking off a brand new series of shows, specialty shows. Today, we are discussing movie rankings, sports movie rankings, but we're going to chop this up into each individual sport, and then at the very end, we might do a bracket, we might do an overall list. We'll see about the best sports movie rankings. So in the comment section, first of all, give the episode a like. Goes a long way, helps keep the show free, obviously. And you're not going to agree with our subjective list, because that would just be strange if you just agreed with someone else's subjective movie ranking. So leave your list in the comment section. Leave your DK name too, your handle. Maybe there'll be some DK bucks in it for a special draw. Who knows? Garion Thorne.
Hello.
You're the baseball guy, so you needed to be in here to talk about baseball with us.
I am the baseball guy. Are you saying that just because someone puts numeric value on random nouns, that doesn't give those nouns, like, definitive place in the world?
I'm just saying that in people's minds. Now, my list will be definitive because everyone knows it's going to be the best.
Right.
However, others just might not agree.
I mean, you say that, but there is a man who he himself would claim is the number one ranker of a list of one in the world.
That's true, and they come with like gaps and things that are in dead last and everything like that. So for the third member of the team coming in to break down these baseball movies and give his top 10 is Tim Andergust!
Tim Andergust.
That is not my name.
Oh, no, definitely your name, sir.
Hey, Tim.
Yeah.
Do you have any movie inside your top 10 that was made past 1985?
I happen to, yes.
Okay. Is
These
it
numbers are
the
ranks?
majority?
Yeah, the numbers are ranks? All right, let's get into it because there's a lot of baseball movies to talk about.
Yeah.
And just a theme of these baseball movies off the top, when I was compiling the list and asking people what their favorite sports movies were, and people were like, how did you have this one on the list? Like, no one brought it up. And they're like, oh, it should be on the list. Like, is it one of your top 3 favorite sports movies? No! Like, then why would it make the list?
So I feel like baseball more than any of the other sports is going to be... we've already discussed this off camera. I know it's not for you, but for me, I know I have like childhood allegiances that I tie to these movies. And,
of course!
Nostalgia. But like, do you feel like baseball is... Just because a lot of these movies are made in America, and for a while, maybe not anymore,
is
but
Mr.
for a
Baseball
while...
considered an American or Japanese movie?
A little column A, a little column B. But because there was that sense that America is... Baseball, and baseball's the pastime, and that's childhood. Like, I feel like there are the most children baseball movies of any other sport. Am I wrong?
No, I would say that's probably right. Plus, when you think about things like Little League and stuff like that, it's great to get some kid actors some work. And Bad News Bears set a precedent about having kids in baseball movies, and it did so well that everyone just tried to replicate Bad News Bears in some sort of fashion. As
That's
we
a
moved
tough
along
leave-off
through
for me.
time.
I like Bad News Bears a lot.
But and I left off the remake as well.
That's more fair.
Yeah, that is
Everybody did.
Oh, I don't know your list, Tim.
Well, nobody saw that movie.
Well, you don't
That's
know.
why.
You don't know that.
All the people who liked Bad Santa saw it. That's not true.
I went to go see Bad Santa 2 on opening night.
All right, we're already off track. We're talking about baseball movies.
I didn't bring it up.
You started talking about it. It was a quip. We could have got away from it, but no, we got to stay on it because of you. Okay, back to it. Baseball movies.
Yes.
So we're going to go around the horn and give our list of the top 10. So I'll give 10, Gary will give 10, Tim will give 10, and if we get to a movie that appears higher on someone else's list, we will go to the movie at that point. You just say, pass, coming up later, and we'll talk about it then. There's a lot of movies that didn't make the list. There's no documentaries on this, just because there's just no documentary qualification, because I don't need to go into every, like, 30 for 30 and do everything. And then that's just one of the qualifiers.
Yeah.
Also, no just random YouTube things, but I do want to give a special shout out to that Doc Ellis YouTube animated thing, which is just excellent.
Also a good documentary.
Is it?
On Netflix, yeah.
No, I didn't see it. I just watched like the 5-minute Doc Ellis YouTube thing.
If
Everybody's seen that.
On a per minute enjoyment basis, you'll never get higher than the YouTube edition because that's just 5 minutes of pure joy. But the documentary is also very good.
Okay, so
the Ron Washington baseball YouTube video is better than that.
I would happen to agree, and that was the second one that I wanted to put up. Just type in Ron Washington and watch the animated feature about Ron Washington. That
got me through college, basically.
Yeah.
That's a great video.
And two that I haven't seen, so I didn't leave them on the list. And obviously, there's going to be one of the big things about these movie lists is that there's going to be a generational gap.
Yeah.
So it's not always going to be the three of us talking about movies. We're just doing baseball movies, maybe a few other ones. There's going to be other guests to come on to maybe give some more perspective, especially with when football comes on, because there seemed to be a big slant towards 70s football movies between people of a certain age, and then people like 90s movies of football, 80s movies in football.
Yeah, if you tell someone that your favorite version of
Longest Yard
involves
is the
Chris
one with
Rock.
Nelly.
People don't take that too well.
No,
sometimes.
they don't. But there was just a lot of generational movies in terms of football.
Yeah, North Dallas 40 holds like a weird place in so many 55-year-old men's hearts.
I agree.
Oh, I love that movie.
And 75-year-old men.
Yeah, exactly. All right, so the two that I haven't seen from this list, I haven't seen 8 Men Out.
It's okay.
And I haven't seen Bang the Drum Slowly.
You're not missing much with 8 Men Out.
So they didn't make my list. Did they make any of your guys' lists?
No.
8 Men Out made my list.
Okay,
yes.
so we'll get to, have you seen Bang the Drum Slowly, Tim?
Nope, I haven't.
All right, so it's a miss for us. So it's hard to put the movie on the list that you've never seen. So some other ones here before we get into the rankings that I left out. There's a lot of like early 90s kids movies. And some of them are on some people's list, some of them are off, but like no one's putting The Scout with Brendan Fraser on a list.
I will say, Jeff Feinberg and I once had a very long discussion about what the best fictional athlete in the world is, or who that person is. Not like, were they in the best movie, or...
Just who would be the best athlete? You took them out of the movie, put them in real life. Who would be the best?
And it's Brendan Fraser in The Scout. Of this, there is no
He's
debate.
he's the original Ohtani.
And yes, and he did it at the highest level in the World Series. Like, he is without question the greatest athlete you could pull from a video.
No fever pitch on this one, so sorry, Freddie Prinze Jr.
That wasn't Freddie. That was Jimmy Fallon. You're thinking of Summer Catch.
Summer Catch. Both. You're both out.
The Red Sox.
I had a weird... When I was a kid, first and foremost in 2004, I was 12 years old, and I
You're so
enjoyed...
young.
I know. And I enjoyed watching the Red Sox beat the Yankees and come back in that series and then win the World Series.
Now you hate the Red Sox?
My dad told me at the time, he was like, that was a perfectly good curse. You're going to hate yourself in 5 years. And I loathe myself now, but I enjoyed that movie because I enjoyed that period. And now I also detest Jimmy Fallon. So, God, that movie sucks.
Other ones that didn't make my list, The Fan with Robert De Niro and Wesley Snipes. Very enjoyable movie. I will give it that.
We'll get back to Wesley, though.
Yeah, Wesley is going to be on everyone's list.
Yeah.
But did you have The Fan on the list?
No, I did not.
I can see you being like Robert De Niro in that movie someday. Just very obsessed with Sam Darnold. Or just staking out Christian Hackenberg's house like 30 years later. Why weren't you better? You made me look like an idiot.
Who?
Oh, sorry,
here we
Christian
go.
Hackencast. That was his
Who?
name. $1 Million Arm with John Hamm.
Never saw it. Can't say I saw it.
Cobb with Tommy Lee Jones.
Did see that. Not a great film.
The Babe with John Goodman. And Tim, that was in the period right after he made King Ralph.
Yeah, thank you very much. I'm well aware.
So you don't love The Babe just as much as you love King Ralph?
No, I don't.
Angels in the Outfield.
That actually makes my list.
Okay.
We can get into that.
Little Big League.
That is very
No.
high on my list.
Hardball with Keanu.
Also makes my
No.
list.
Oh my God. The Scout.
No, did not make my
Okay.
list.
The Bench Warmers with Napoleon Dynamite and Rob Schneider. 42, the Jackie Robinson movie.
That's on my list.
Okay.
Really? Ooh, that's
It's a
interesting.
very good movie.
Bad News Bears. Did it make anyone's list?
No. But again, like
No.
honorable mention. It's a very funny movie.
It's a very influential
Stretcher
movie.
for my balls is a great line.
But that's back in the day, right? When Walter Matthau could open a movie. Like, he couldn't do that now. Like, a modern...
Really? You don't think that if Walter Matthew doesn't have the marquee cachet as he did
Is he still alive?
in 1950? I don't think so.
No, he died in the year 2000.
Okay.
But-
So maybe he would open a movie very well
watch
today.
it, yeah.
Yeah, Walter Matthau's in a new movie. Holy shit.
If Walter Matthau had begun his acting career now, like, you couldn't open Bad News Bears or The Taking of Pelham 1, 2, 3 anymore. He could open movies in the 70s in a way he couldn't now if such a person existed. That was my point before you decided to intentionally twist it.
You didn't. You said Walter Matthau couldn't open a movie today. Direct quote.
Well, he couldn't. If you would transport
Yes, we agree.
If one were to transport that, then it's just weird that he was considered a leading man, and that a person like him couldn't be a leading man anymore.
He could be if he was funny enough. Will Ferrell was a leading man for
Yeah,
10 years.
I feel like it's all about the script in the particular movie. I don't
Yeah,
know.
and who's hot at it, especially in something like comedy. If you're hot at the time.
Kevin James has been the leading man in like 15 films.
Well, wait till we do our Paul Blart 2, or just Paul Blart series rankings.
Well, that's individual podcasts on their own, really.
Other ones that didn't make it, Major League 3 did not.
The Buzz?
The Buzz did not make the cut. I do like the movie.
Dude, I don't hate it.
Trouble with the Curve.
That's a terrible
That movie is not good.
And it sends the wrong impression. Much like Draft Day sends the wrong impression about football analysis, Trouble with the Curve is the worst of scouting in baseball.
For Love of the Game also didn't make my list, although it does
Almost made mine.
Almost made mine too. It was probably like the last cut. Good baseball scenes.
Really good baseball scenes. I mean, my mom really liked it, so I watched it a ton when I was a kid.
Yeah, but she
That might
probably
be
liked
part
the
of
part that was the worst
did.
part of the movie.
She did.
That's why that part of the movie is why it's
I
not
know,
on the list.
I know, but I got to a certain point, it's almost like when you listen to an album from back to front and there's songs on there that aren't good, but you've just heard them so often, you convince yourself you like them. There are parts of that movie where I get choked up just because I've seen them so many times that I feel like I'm emotionally invested.
Last ones from the just ones that came up in the bank of baseball movies. Mr. 3000 did not make my list.
That movie is terrible.
But you're like the white Bernie Mac, Tim.
Every part of that movie is terrible. Even Kornheiser and Wilbon are bad in that movie.
They're better in Creed. It's true.
Do you think that Tim could, if people started thinking of Tim as the white Bernie Mac?
Oh, it could only help his reputation.
I would think so too.
Yeah.
It would make him seem
Another
a lot
bad
funnier.
Santa. We made another bad Santa reference here, basically.
What, that you're Thurman Merman, not Bernie Mac?
No, I'm not Thurman Merman.
All right, let's get into the list. Number 10 on my list of best baseball movies, Major League 2. Only for Jesse Ventura's cameo at the beginning, with the now Omar Epps in the Willie Mays Hayes role as White Lightning and Black Thunder. Because it's basically the same movie.
Look, the entire Major League series is good. I'll watch any of the three. Major League 2, again, just missed out of my top 10. It's a really, really good movie. It's funny. Yeah, I think they knew how to do a baseball movie at that point, and it worked.
How come there's no Major League 4? Can't Charlie Sheen be the manager now?
I feel like if anything, they just reboot the series. And maybe pick another team?
No, but that's the way to do it. You reboot the series and just call it Major League 4, and now Wild Thing is the coach, and you can bring back like Dorn, and he can be a coach too, and you just have a whole new cast of players.
Sounds like a real.
I mean, it's essentially
straight
what
to VHS movie with this cast.
It sounds, yeah, but you could put like better people.
Yeah.
I mean, it's essentially what the Miami Marlins are doing. It's a documentary about the Miami Marlins.
Interesting. Okay. Yeah. No. I would argue that the concept of Major League might be
Sam
a lot
Hankey
more
influence.
Well, just say that's an actual thing happening now in all sports. Like that storyline has a lot more meaning to a lot more fans right now.
So what you're saying is that Major League was the first analytics movie.
It was the first tanking movie.
Okay.
Let's put it that way. It was the first sometimes being worse can be better thought process of a sports movie.
Tim, did Major League 2 make your list?
No, it did not.
That's unfortunate. It's the 10th best baseball movie of all time.
Apparently.
My number 10, and I think it's mostly just there for how ridiculous the cast looks 25 years later, is Angels in the Outfield. I love the fact that Tony Danza plays the star pitcher who's dying of cancer.
Do you think that Tony Danza is better in Angels in the Outfield or that like garbage picking, field goal kicking football movie? Was that him?
I think Angels in the Outfield, probably.
Okay.
But there's just like Joseph Gordon-Levitt is the kid. The fact Danny Glover is like the angry manager who adopts them at the end of the movie, because why not? Matthew McConaughey's in that movie.
Is he? I don't remember that at all.
Remember the first Angel appearance when they pick up the center fielder and drag him like 20 feet in the air? That's Matthew McConaughey in his first Hollywood role.
Wow.
There's just some weird people in this movie, and I don't know. This one is of the children's movies I have on my list, this one is definitely it's weird. There's some nostalgia tied to this. I like it for those reasons, but it's not an altogether bad movie.
Tim, what's your number 10?
8 Men Out. Just because it tells an important story. It's the greatest scandal perhaps in all of pro sports. It's well acted. I think they treat Shoeless Joe in a way that he hadn't been treated. I mean, but in 1988, there were still people around who remembered Shoeless Joe, and so I guess perhaps the movie came out at the perfect time. But to rewatch it now, I think if you're a younger sports fan, the picture teaches you a lesson about sort of the trappings of sports and history, and so I liked it.
Would it fall under the sports gambling motif?
It could, I suppose, because ultimately that's what is the great undoing. But I think it's more of a movie about people than it is about gambling.
Is it more of a movie about baseball than people?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. There's lots of baseball in it, and the
You'd
baseball
like it because the manager is the dad from Frasier.
Oh, Marty Crane?
Yeah.
R.I.P.
Also, can't open a movie anymore.
Cannot.
I don't even know why I even express my opinion on things, because they just get distorted and mocked.
All right, what's your number 9, Tim?
My number 9 movie is 42. We talked about it earlier with Jackie Robinson. Again, because I have a soft spot. What makes baseball so great is that it's the through line that tells the history of America in a lot of ways. And so 42 tells an incredibly important story in a very engaging way about Jackie breaking the color barrier, and I think it's really good.
Is it Chadwick Boseman who's in it?
It is, who's
it
great. But I almost feel like that's one of those movies that it's an important enough story. I don't think and I know this doesn't happen anymore in Hollywood, you don't make that movie to make money. You make that movie as an R-rated movie, and you tell the story properly. Like, I went to see that film.
It should have been a Disney movie, is what you're saying?
It should have been a Disney movie. It just, I left feeling not uninspired, but just like, that is such an influential character and such a cool time period to do a film in, and to really properly tell a story that should be told. And if you're not going to do it 100%, it just felt inaccurate to me. I don't know.
I thought Chadwick was great. I think Harrison Ford is really good in the movie. And
look, for what it is, it's fine. I just feel like there's a better movie to be made there that's not a Disney movie.
You know what the great baseball biopic could be? Could win someone an Oscar, because it's a very, very juicy role. The Ricky Henderson story. That's going to be a movie someday, and it's going to be fucking awesome.
Title would have to be Greatest of All Time.
Or just Ricky.
Yeah, you could do that too.
See, this is why they leave the titles to me.
Gotta go back in time though and get 1994 Cuba Gooding Jr. to play that part.
Do you think he'd be good?
I think he'd basically just be playing Ron Tidwell. So
I suppose that's true. My number 9 was Pride of the Yankees.
It's a good movie.
I feel
it's on my list.
Oh, so it's higher on your list?
Sure is.
All right, so we'll go around to Garion then. Number 9.
Number 9, I have Bull Durham, which I assume
higher on my
will be
list.
much higher on everyone else's
Higher on
list.
my list too.
All right, so back to me. League of Their Own, number 8.
I have that.
That's where I have League of Their Own.
I have it at number 7. So
let's just talk about it right now. It's funny.
It's
I watch
a good
it.
movie.
I watch it with my wife on the Women's Network when it comes on every weekend.
It used to be on TBS all the time. Back when TBS would show a movie Friday, Saturday, and Sunday night.
And then show it back to back?
Yeah.
Like the old Shawshank block?
And that's the Shawshank Redemption block, the Deep Blue Sea block. They had the rights to maybe 16 movies.
They also used to have the rights to the movie.
And the Braves games.
The Braves games and The Big Hit with Mark Wahlberg.
I don't remember that one.
And I want to say Clifton Collins Jr., but I'd be wrong saying that.
I'm not sure.
I'll think about it. The other guy in that movie.
The great thing about it is it's got such a tour de force cast. I mean, people who are under the age of 25 don't know who Gina Davis was.
Donald Trump
was
hates this movie, though.
Gina Davis was a mega star in the 1990s, and so she being in it was huge. Of course, Tom Hanks, who is probably the biggest actor, maybe still, but at that time, really the biggest actor in the world. Madonna, you have Rosie O'Donnell, just a nonstop tour de force, and everybody's good in it. Now, it's a fun movie.
It's a really good movie. Yeah.
Baseball tells the story of America the way no other sport does, and this tells an important story.
It is strangely emotional at points. Like, there's that scene
and
where...
it's funny. Yeah, my list leans more funny than anything else.
I just feel like any movie that can elicit an actual physical or emotional reaction from me is like, wow, that's good filmmaking if you can get me to feel something.
But I mean, there has to be sort of a line on this too.
Oh,
where
sure, no.
We're not ranking what the best movie about baseball is. It's what's the best baseball movie. And our favorite baseball
That
movie.
is true too. I'm just saying, like, I enjoy the fact that it's a very funny movie, but at the same time, there are very poignant moments in the movie, like when the guy walks in and everyone realizes someone's husband just died at war. Like, it's a very touching moment. And even the end of the movie when there's like they all come together and the sister story, which is I mean, that's not often an angle we see movies told from, or a lens we see movies told from. I just thought it was really good, and the baseball scenes are really good.
See, Tim would have had it number 1 on his list, but Rosie's in the movie, and he hates Rosie.
Got to stay on brand.
I got nothing against Rosie at all.
What about when she was heckling Larry when he hid Wendy Wheelchair in the closet on Curb?
Well, Larry's the one at fault there. He put that poor lady in the closet and closed the door.
So that is my number 8, League of Their Own. That was Tim's. What's your number 8?
My number 8 is Hardball.
Okay. I left it off the list.
I thought it was a good movie. And I have rewatched it. Another movie that TBS, I guess, had the rights to.
Okay, so this is something that we did talk about a little bit. Like, when it comes to a lot of these kids' movies, I would have had them on had I not went back and watched them in my early 20s and be like, these are terrible.
I feel like this one, this isn't a kids' movie, though.
But this
is
also,
a movie
but
about
this also
a
came
kid's
out when I
baseball
was
team.
like 20-something.
Fair.
Yeah,
But-
this is always a mistake to go back and rewatch movies that you remember fondly, I think, in almost every instance.
Not every instance,
Not everyone.
but some.
But again, I don't. This isn't a movie where you're like, oh, I saw this when I was 10. Let's watch it again. This is a movie that actually my parents rented when I was 10 and were like, this was a mistake.
VHS or DVD?
VHS. I
Okay.
think.
Not Laserdisc?
I don't think we had a DVD player until I was like 13.
HD DVD.
Yeah, the HD DVD. I don't know. It's a solid movie, and again, maybe I'm leaning on it too much as a movie that I actually think is a relatively good film, because baseball scenes with children are never going to be the best scenes exactly. But it's got Keanu in it. Anytime you get John Wick in there,
Just big on Keanu?
John Wick coaching a baseball team.
All right, number 7, you had League of Their Own, Garion?
Yeah, I did.
Tim, what was your number 7?
Major League.
Oh,
That seems low.
yeah, that's way too low, so we'll get to that later on. My number 7 was El Natural. And you had made the thing that that doesn't make your list because it's way too boring.
I'd say way too. I just find it dull. I find it a little dull. I enjoy the story. I think that its place. I just think it's one of those movies that if it wasn't sort of a very, not necessarily quotable movie, but it's a very referenced movie.
Well, that's the thing. You can get burnt out.
I have it much higher. I have it much higher.
You have it much higher? How high do you have
And
it?
that's the thing. That's the kind of movie I knew Tim would have high. And I'm not saying that's a negative, but we have different sensibilities.
I suppose so. So Tim, it's number 3 on your list?
Yeah.
What is it that you love about The Natural so much?
It is, when you were to do a list of the best sports movies of all time, it can't be left off the list.
Yeah, it can.
It is.
It's gonna be pretty. When I make my best list, it's gonna be, since it didn't crack my top 5 of baseball.
You're not gonna have
it's probably,
7 baseball
probably
movies
not
in
gonna
the
be
top 10.
inside the top 10 of
One
overall
of those
sports
things where
movies.
if someone were to make the case, and I wouldn't, that it's the best movie ever in sports, you couldn't fight too hard against it.
Yeah, you can. It's not great.
I mean, look, it's also
it
a
is
chicken
great in every sense of the word.
It's a chicken
It's a
and the egg
great-
scenario too, where can we judge a movie based on the fact that when this movie was released, we still were very much in a time frame where sports movies followed a particular plot line. The heroes had to win at the end of the movie. And I think now when you look back, because that's considered a little played out, you kind of go, oh, another one of these, even though it was kind of the first one to do it. So at the time it was sort of original. I feel like the A to B to C plot points in the movie are just very like, yeah, okay, that's sort of what I figured would happen.
Well, I think Tim would say that Star Wars really started this when the Empire didn't win, so the good guys lost, right, Tim?
Well, I'm not even taking the bait. That's how disciplined I'm being right now. Roy Hobbs is when you think about like fictitious baseball characters.
Willie Mays Hayes.
Roy Hobbs.
Willie Mays
is
Hayes.
the first one that comes to mind.
No, it's not. All right, you're
You
mine, but
get-
you're like 90 years old.
Talking about cast,
He's the only one you can remember because everything gets too
Robert-
jumbled in your mind.
Robert Redford, probably the biggest male movie star of the 70s, one of the top 3 or 4 of the 20th century.
Tim has
Robert Duvall.
fun story about Tim, like true story. Like
Yep.
when you walk into his room, he has a shirtless Robert Redford poster from 1971 on his wall. He's so sexy.
I will say,
Robert
true
Redford is an
story.
important actor.
There was a video store by my house growing up, and
Was it one where you could walk in and get a little bag of popcorn and just walk
Yeah.
around?
Yeah, you could.
The best.
When Bull Durham came out, they had a life-size Kevin Costner cutout to go with it.
You had a guilty beat to it?
No, I didn't, but my dad stole it because my mom loved Kevin Costner so much. So that was apparently in my parents' house before I was born for like 2 years.
Wow.
So
So,
there's that.
so Tim, we won't cut you off this time. Continue talking about Roy Hobbs and how sexy he is.
Robert Redford, Robert Duvall, Glenn Coke, Kim Basinger. Again, it's a movie filled with stars. it's a movie that people saw. It found a way to work itself into Americana. It's a picture that people who are not big sports fans know about, talk about. They know the story. It's a really, it harkens back to the high point of baseball, which is, the earlier and middle part of the 20th century. Just everything about it is great, and I just love the movie.
But I think in a way, like, sort of what I was talking about before, not that it was Oscar bait, but it was Americana bait. It was, hey, let's make a movie with not necessarily the biggest movie star in the world, but like the most your dad movie star in the world, and let's set it in the early period of the American pastime. And, it's just like, it hits every single cliche on its way.
Now,
it's fine.
Well, here's the thing. And
they weren't cliches then. I understand that.
Well, I mean, they probably were cliches.
That's why I'm talking about the chicken and the egg thing,
Yeah.
where it's like, I'm just seeing this through young eyes. Because I did watch The Natural when I was a kid and I enjoyed it. But then I watched it again when I was like 16 and I was like, I guess my sensibilities have changed. I just feel like this is a little mundane for me.
You were like George Harrison when he saw Homer. He's like, I've seen better.
No,
Seen it
he says,
before.
it's been done.
It's been done. What a nice guy.
So what's your number 7, Tim?
My number 7 is, I told you, Major League. And I said we would talk about it later.
All right, so number 6. What's your number 6?
61 asterisk.
That's number 5 on my list.
For me too, so this seems like a good place to talk about.
Well, here's the big thing about 61. Hey, it's very
Mickey
good.
Mantle's incredible.
Well, you have Thomas Jane of Todd Parker from Boogie Nights or Hung fame. And you got Barry Pepper, who I just feel is criminally underrated.
Of Battlestar Galactica fame.
He's in Battlestar Galactica?
Yeah, he is.
No, he isn't.
Pretty sure he
No,
is.
he isn't. I'm watching Battlestar Galactica right now.
Oh, sorry. Battlefield Earth. My apologies.
Yeah, Battlefield Earth.
My apologies.
He's also one of like the random dudes in Saving Private Ryan,
Yep. He's a lot
along
of
with Vin Diesel.
that random dude who no one knows the name of, but everyone knows at least 3 movies that Barry Pepper's in.
But I feel like you're getting the best of Pepper right here.
It's a great
in
movie.
61. And I love Thomas Jane. Even when he was on Arrested Development. When he was
And the aforementioned Deep Blue Sea.
Oh yeah, he was, wasn't he?
He's the hero in Deep Blue
It's
Sea.
definitely not his best movie, but it's one of his best.
What's Thomas Jane's best movie?
The
then?
Punisher.
Probably Flags of Our Fathers, which is a really good movie.
Fucking head. He's Todd
Or
Parker.
he was also important in the remake of True Grit, which is a great movie too.
Don't dance on Sundays, man. Todd, where were you? All the blow off the table. I got a plan, Dirk. It's a real good plan. He's so good in Boogie Nights. He's only in it for like 3 scenes. And he's great in this movie as well.
Yeah, he's really good in this movie.
This is a story, like, you point to, like, Roy Hobbs being, like, the iconic, like, baseball story. Maris and Mantle, like, is the baseball story. Like, it's the real baseball story. Yeah. It's the one that, no matter what generation you're really from, it's the one that you kind of know.
And regardless of what point you watch this movie, and Tim might have other feelings about this, I know exactly how you feel about this, and we share the feeling. Whenever you start watching this movie, with the framing device they use of McGuire and Sosa, it takes you back to the most fun baseball has ever been. I loved that season so much, and it takes me back to that, and it takes me back to the feelings of that season too. It's really fun. So,
Tim, you really like it as well, obviously.
Yeah, I mean, in part because people only really know Roger Maris for having 61 home runs. I don't think people didn't realize, like, yeah, 1998 was fun, but the stakes were so low. In 1961, and with 61 with Roger Maris, the stakes couldn't be higher because he was, it was seen as an assault on Babe Ruth for him to be hitting 61 home runs. And so the story is so just tragic. It's almost Shakespearean, if you will, that the great skill or virtue that Roger Maris has ends up in some ways being his downfall. And of course, Frick doesn't like him. And of course, they moved to 162 games. And of course, I still am upset that baseball has 162 games.
But it's interesting.
So you're glad it has the asterisk in the title.
Yeah, well, I mean, I would not have given him the asterisk, but I do think there is something to be said about playing more games than the Babe played and hitting more home runs. I mean, it's just a thing.
But isn't it interesting though, Tim, that the way they plot out the movie, that really the climax of the film comes game 154 when he's in Baltimore, and really they treat the 61st home run like an afterthought. Like that's almost in the denouement of the film. Like it's sort of like Roger Maris would go on to actually hit the 61st home run.
Yeah, it's
that's
everyone
because
remembers McGuire's 62nd home run, and no one can tell you what the 70th looked like.
exactly. So I think it was interesting how they decided to
I
go
think
about
that's
it
all
too.
fair.
Yeah.
So great movie all around.
Yeah.
Highly recommended by the three of us.
Billy Crystal.
You directed?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Yes,
he's
he
like
did.
he's a lifelong Yankee.
That's
he's
right.
A huge Yankee.
And another part of this works in too is like the Yankees iconography is that if there's a team that you talk about, we're not Yankees fans by any means, but it'd be like having the Cowboys in a movie. Like they're the most important franchise.
It just
Okay.
Or Newt Rockney and Notre Dame.
it lends itself very well.
No, Notre Dame sucks. No one cares about Notre Dame. So where are we at? Number 6. So what's your number 6, Gary?
Field of Dreams.
Okay, that's higher on my list. Tim?
Bull Durham is number 5. Oh, I gave you 6. Was 61.
No, I
Yeah,
said
but say,
Field
where does
of
Field of
Dreams.
Dreams-
Where's that? That's
Field
higher.
of Dreams is 4.
Okay, so
Okay.
it's higher on.
Yeah.
We'll get to that. I have the Rookie at number 6. Dennis
Not
Quaid
even on my list.
making a comeback.
You know what? I don't.
I
dislike
just
the Rookie,
really liked
but
it. I thought it was excellent.
I would say.
You also have cool like Tampa Bay Devil Rays gear in the movie.
Yeah, I'm just surprised that of all
Those Disney
all
movies,
the Disney
that's the
movies,
one that I
really.
like the best.
Interesting.
I think it's a
it's
cool-
not a bad movie.
I think
in
it's a
any
cool
sense.
story.
They got the fat little kid from 2.5 Men before he grew up and got all weird.
That's who that is.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I didn't watch a whole lot of 2.5 Men. I was more concerned about Charlie Sheen's comedy tour after he left the show.
What's it called again? Hurricane of
Tiger Blood of.
I don't know.
Tim, what was it called?
Hashtag fastball.
I don't remember.
I remember watching the live stream though that first night.
Yeah, with what was the guy's name? Rick. Rick weighs in. Rick was the cast of Charlie Sheen's
Yeah, there was some
show.
random actor who I remember I saw you on he was on a Nickelodeon show.
Then he's on Charlie Sheen's
And then he
show
was
on a
just
bunch of blow,
just
weighing
doing
in
a
on
bunch
things.
of blow on Charlie Sheen's live webcast.
Wasn't it the Tiger Blood tour?
It might have been. That would make sense. I just feel like there was
He's a
hurricane
Vatican
or
assassin.
typhoon or something.
Oh man, we should revisit that. When is the 10-year anniversary of the Charlie Sheen meltdown?
It might.
It has
gotta
to
be
be
coming up, yeah.
2011. So in 2021, remind me.
We should go back
I will do a
to-
5-part series because nothing has ever taken over my life as a random media
Yeah.
event as that did. I spent a good 6 days digging into everything.
I will say when I worked at Sportsnet, they gave me the opportunity to shadow the
Charlie
field
Sheen.
reporter for a Jays game, and one of the days I happened to be field level. We were informed before it was happening that not only was Charlie Sheen throwing out the first pitch that night, but he wanted to take batting practice.
Awesome.
So I got to watch Charlie Sheen take batting practice at the Rogers Center. It was incredible.
Was he great?
No.
Oh.
He's just so skinny now. He was so coked out and skinny at the time. He couldn't process anything.
I suppose that's true. So The Rookie, I know it's going to be not on most people's top 10, just a movie that resonated with me. I liked it a lot.
I think that was one of my first times in my life I can distinctly remember, though, watching a movie like that, kind of getting inspired by the story, and then going and checking out the baseball reference page and being like, wow, this guy sucked in the majors.
So number 6 for you, Tim, was what? Sorry?
61, which we talked about.
61. And what was your number 6?
Field of Dreams.
All right, so we'll
Get
go
to that in
on
a
to
second.
number 5. Number 5 for Gary and I was both 61.
Yep.
So Tim, what was your number 5?
Number 5 for me was Bull Durham.
I guess we'll get to that.
We can get into it, yeah.
All right, let's get into Bull Durham right now. It's number 2 on my list. Garion?
I mean, I guess I'll take
number
the
9
side.
on your list?
Yeah, I'll take the side of I've never been in love with this movie.
When Tim talks, the way he talks about The Natural is how I feel about Bull Durham.
And that's fair. I think I find myself, obviously, with my ranking, a lot easier to fall into that narrative. For as funny as some of the scenes are, I often find myself watching that movie and wanting less of Susan Sarandon.
Really?
Yeah. I almost care more about, I want to get more about his career. I think his career is so interesting as just Crash Davis. I don't know. I understand why the relationship is important. Nuke Lelouch is one of the better movie baseball characters I think we have. Tim Robbins is fantastic in the role. But yeah, I could use a little less Susan Sarandon. I guess that was really my takeaway.
So
Tim Robbins just wants to throw the heat.
It's true.
just
Hadn't seen my heat.
just like the guy in Major League 3, just swing away. He just wants to hit dings. So Tim, I mean, obviously I like it a bit more than you, but when I think of iconic baseball movie, Bull Durham
It's there.
is where that comes in for me over something even like Field of Dreams, even like The Natural, something like that. And what's the guy's name? I'm completely spacing on the guy who wrote and directed it, or at least the guy who wrote it, because he did Tin Cup as well. There's a
Oh.
certain sensibility that this movie has.
Ron Shelton?
Ron Shelton.
Yeah,
Did he do the Lethal Weapon movies? Did he direct those?
I think he was involved in a couple.
Because Shane Black
of
wrote them, and
Yeah,
like
I think
and
Shelton
those have
directed
the same
them. Yeah.
sensibility that I like as well. Like there's a dark humor to these movies.
Oh, they're
funny.
very 80s in a way, which is,
It just, it's
but in
the-
like the right kind
but
of
it's
way.
the tone
Yeah.
of the movie that I like more than anything, which I think separates it from
Mm-hmm.
the rest of the baseball movies of this sort of ilk. Like some of the other movies are like straight comedy, and I
Yeah.
wouldn't put this in a straight comedy
No,
situation.
it toes the line very well.
Yes, and those are my favorite types of movies.
Yeah.
So Tim, for you, it comes in the middle of your list, so I feel like you're somewhere obviously in between Garion and I.
That's exactly it. I mean, there are moments in the movie that you can never forget and that are sort of impressed upon your brain. But it is one of those movies that, unfortunately, I have gone back in the last couple of years and watched, and it just doesn't hold up for me in the way that I would have liked it to.
Okay.
I don't know. It's slow at parts that I wouldn't like. I mean, Kevin Costner's also a bad actor, so like
Kevin
you
Costner's
notice
not a bad actor. He's just playing Kevin
Yeah,
Costner
he's
in
just-
every
yeah.
movie.
He's just not acting.
he's bad in almost everything he's ever done, except for Waterworld. That was great.
Oh my!
Everything
What
else
a
is
that
bad.
somehow might be the most contrarian take you've ever had. Oh my!
I like that movie. That was underrated.
Whew. Wow.
Bull Durham, Blaze, White Men
You know
Can't
what? He's
Jump,
also good at 14
Cobb,
Days. I'll give him credit for that.
Tin Cup, Play It to the Bone, Hollywood Homicide, a movie I like with Josh Hartnett
Yeah,
and Harrison Ford.
That was an interesting movie.
He wrote and directed both those ones. As writer only, he wrote Blue Chips, Great White Hype, Bad Boys 2. So he has
Wow.
nothing to do with it. It was Shane Black who did the Lethal
Yes,
Weapon movies.
okay.
Another writer, now director.
That's not a bad resume though.
It's pretty good.
Yeah.
Good at sports movies,
Yeah.
if nothing else.
You know what though? Now I didn't actually know that he also directed Tin Cup and White Men Can't Jump, but now that I know that, it's very easy to see the parallels between those movies.
Yeah, they all have the same sensibility to them.
Thank goodness they don't have all have Rosie Perez in them, but that's a story for a different show.
That is. I wish I could throw to the critic clip of Rosie Perez right now, but I can't, so it would make no sense. And very few people have gone back.
And watch The Critic. It's all on YouTube.
It is all on YouTube, so I recommend people go back
Yes.
and watch The Critic. There's a good William Shatner, Rosie Perez throwaway, like, just gag. So that's Bull Durham. Number 4 on everyone's list. This is where I have Field of Dreams coming in.
I have Moneyball.
You have Moneyball. Tim, what do you have at number 4?
Field of Dreams.
All right, so let's talk about Field of Dreams right now. It was number 6 on your list.
Yep.
It's fine. I like it.
It's a little
I
long
don't
sometimes.
love it. Yeah.
That's my only critique of the movie is it's a little long.
I think I've
sometimes.
seen it too many times. And I've seen it in that not in full the entire times, but it's another one of these movies that was just on when I was growing up.
Yeah.
And I tune in for the last hour, like the first 30 minutes. Like I've seen it disjointed so many times that I can't even really remember what like the chronological order of the movie is.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes the Terrence Mann stuff gets a little muddy for me if you'd ask me to put it in chronological order. There's like
People always screw up the line.
Yeah.
They always
Yeah.
say, if you build it, they will come. But that's not the line. So if you build
He
it,
will
he
come.
will come.
He will come. Yeah. Yeah, like the book stuff off the top. I know that's important to set up the main character, but like I don't know. Like so there are just
It's a
moments
bit too sappy.
Yeah, and
is what I'll
look,
say.
like I'm not I will admit this movie will make me cry every time. I will cry at the end of this movie.
Well, that gets points.
without
That
fail.
moves it up a list.
It does. Like that and Rudy really are the two movies where I'm like,
Rudy sucks.
I'm gonna cry. But yeah, I don't know. Like I think really, would you say that this movie and your fondness or not fondness for it really comes down to like I don't want to get too Freudian, but like your relationship with your father?
And potentially so, sure. I have very
Just be
fond
that
memories
simple.
of my father
Yeah,
and I
and
watching baseball.
And,
So yeah,
and playing
maybe there
catch,
is
like,
that
it really,
emotional link
you
to
know?
it too. But like, this isn't my preferred Kevin Costner.
No.
No, certainly not mine either.
I like a more attitudey
Yeah.
Kevin Costner, a more snippy Kevin Costner.
Like if you, I don't want to say his acting is bad in this movie because he's still just essentially playing Kevin Costner, just a different version of Kevin Costner.
Yeah.
But I just prefer the other version of Costner better.
Yeah.
So Tim, Tim weighs in like Rick. What do you think?
I mean, I like the movie in part because where it takes place, or at least where it actually took place, I've actually visited and been to in Iowa. So that for me has some special resonance. Like, of course, the James Earl Jones stuff and that whole connection is, again, part of movie lore. And you can't have a baseball discussion without having it somewhere. But, like, at the same time, I think Kevin Costner is an overactor, and I don't like what he's up to. Ray Liotta's really good in this movie.
It is funny, though, that you would say Kevin Costner is an over-actor, then be like, Ray Liotta's pretty good, though, because it is the only movie I can think of where Ray Liotta just underplays his character.
I was gonna say, have you ever seen the movie Narc? He's real over the top in that.
I have, but he plays Shoeless Joe, I think, in a very creditable way. And so it's a good movie. Again, it like Garion said, I think it pulls on your heartstrings to remind you about your relationship, perhaps with a parent, and that's good filmmaking. I mean, the best films are the ones that touch you emotionally in some ways.
Or we can say that it's a more emotionally manipulative movie than actually a good movie.
You could look at it that way too.
No, it's coming number 4 on my list and Tim's list, so it's doing something.
I'm saying you could. No, I really like the movie. My only critique of it, like I said, would be, it's just there are some parts I wish would move faster.
Okay, number 3. Unless Tim, did you and I both had Field of Dreams at number 4?
I did indeed.
All right, so Garion's number 4. My number 3 is Moneyball. Do you have it higher?
Okay, I had it 2. So
okay.
All right, so
we're getting to a point where there's only so many movies left.
Yes. So Moneyball. This originally came up on the list that I had jotted down of, is this even really a baseball movie? And I finally came to the conclusion that yes, it is, because there's a lot of fun baseball stuff in it, except none of it takes place on the field.
I mean,
some of it does.
You could argue the climax of the movie, and some argue that this is why the Athletics are such a laughable organization. But the climax of their organization, for the latter
half, is them
half,
losing to the Yankees?
No, the climax of the film is Chris Pratt beating the Royals after they were up 12-0 in the second inning, and having to come back and hit a walk-off home run. But to continue the win streak and set the record, that was the best thing they would end up doing. No, I think it's a baseball movie. I mean, you could make the argument. Again, it's if you really want to go straight by a ratio thing, like 50 or 30% of the scenes have to take place on a baseball field, then yeah, maybe it's not a baseball movie. But the trade deadline scene in that movie is such a good sports film moment that I think it takes it over the top.
Is this movie better if it doesn't have Brad Pitt in it?
I like Brad Pitt.
Or does he have a certain level of apathy towards everything that really works as Billy Dee?
This is one of the very few sports movies that's like a genuine motion picture that isn't a sports movie selling itself that way. It's selling itself as a really good, high-quality movie that just happens to be about sports. And they pull off great. I mean, I'm sure you guys have read the actual book, Moneyball. And for them to be able to spin a web out of that book into an actual movie that is fun to watch and tells a great story is very impressive. The book does not lend itself to this sort of interpretation, except in the mind of somebody who's incredibly bright.
Well, they left some stuff out.
Yeah. Well, I think as a movie as well, because I think Bennett Miller directed this, and he directed the Capote movie as well, another movie I'm a big fan of. And there's a certain... The two movies don't share a ton of relation, but there's a certain pacing that Bennett Miller has that I think really worked well with this movie. Because I didn't think you could adapt Moneyball into a movie.
I remember seeing the trailer and thinking, I don't know what this is going to be.
Because there was an Aaron Sorkin version of this movie, too.
Yeah, which would have been too wordy. It just would have.
Well, listen, there are still parts of Aaron Sorkin in this movie.
Oh, sure. Definitely.
But as a film, but I think that actually kind of helps the movie a little because I think it speeds along some of the parts that are kind of like
get Sorkin to adapt it and bring it down to his level of adaptation. Then go, okay, we're going to take 45% of this, and that's probably the amount of analytics people can handle. Because I think Sorkin would have gone too far into.
Yeah, well, Sorkin's like picking out whatever the major theme is, and then having like the scenes between like the scouts and Brad Pitt and Jonah Hill.
We should say, there is, speaking of the Ron Washington video, there's a great Ron Washington line in this movie. Tell him how easy playing first base is. So I set you up, Tim. Hey, Wash, tell him how easy playing first is. It's
incredibly hard.
So this movie is also influential from a perspective of it set up Jonah Hill to be in Wolf of Wall Street.
Yep.
It made him a credible, serious type. Although the role itself and the movie itself isn't super serious.
No.
You can see how comedic actors can be in it, and Chris Pratt
had to lose weight for.
Yeah. So he loses weight in this, because all we know him is Fat Andy from Parks and Rec.
It was this, basically. And it was also Zero Dark 30.
Sure, but he's in this, in Zero Dark 30, and that sets up the Guardians of the Galaxy movies, because without these movies, he's not the star of those, and those movies aren't good unless he's the star of them.
And as Tim and I are both excited for, the Jurassic Park series.
Oh, that movie looks amazing.
All in.
All in on Jurassic Park.
Love Jurassic Park movies.
Is Jeff Goldblum coming back?
He is.
Well, that could sway me back in a little bit,
There
I
you go.
suppose. It's just
It's also basically a farewell movie for Philip Seymour Hoffman, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was in The Master, but nobody saw that.
well,
so
The
Moneyball
Master is
was like
one of
a-
the better movies of this millennium, but that
It
sucks.
was a very good movie, but almost nobody saw it. Whereas Moneyball, people saw. And so it was like one of the last popular serious movies he was in. He was in other movies after that, like The Hunger Games. But again, that's not serious.
Which
and he was in good movies like The
The
Master.
Hunger Games is an incredibly serious movie, and it was exponentially more seen and popular than Moneyball was.
It was more popular, but certainly not a serious movie. It's just sort of like, no, it's not.
Yeah, it is.
It is
The Hunger Games is an incredibly serious movie.
Like, it's the sort of movie that could never be nominated for Best Picture. Like, that's just not a live option for it.
Yeah, that's not a good scale to rank things on, by the way.
Well, but I think it's not an inconsequential
Yeah,
scale either.
but the Academy is just a bunch of out-of-touch people like you.
No, I have a greater respect for the Academy than perhaps you do. I think that they know a little bit more than we do about movies.
I would say you definitely have a greater respect for the Academy than Pat and I do.
Yeah, we have none.
I will say, just in retrospect, I do really enjoy the fact.
How mad Art Howe was that Philip Seymour Hoffman played him?
Well, that's a good question, just in the sense of like, should you be happy that one of the great American actors of our time is getting to portray you, or should you be dishappy because
He's fat.
a fat guy is playing you? No, I just
Philip Seymour
like
Hoffman could have played Tim in a movie.
that would have been amazing. I just enjoy
Really
the
getting
fact
into the role of Gig Fitz.
not only that Royce Clayton, who is one of the most mediocre shortstops of this generation, got to play Miguel Tejada. I just like the irony that this movie and the book are all centered around just Billy Beane and the Athletics being so ahead of the game in numbers, but they didn't actually know Miguel Tejada's age.
How are they supposed to know?
I know, but
it's like, do the
I'm not
Angels
saying
know
it's-
Albert Pujols'
I'm
age?
not
I think
saying
he's like
it's-
74 years old.
He's 40. He slipped up and said so much.
Oh.
I'm not saying it's their fault. I just think it's funny where it's just like they had all the numbers except their star shortstop's actual age.
That's tough.
It's funny to me.
So we all like Moneyball.
A great movie. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a lot. It's a great movie.
Do you think its lack of baseballness is the reason that the three of us don't have it as number one on this list?
No, what I have number one on the list, we'll get to it, could never be surpassed by any movie ever in baseball.
I feel like
Well, we both have, the three of us have three different movies
Yeah.
at number one.
I just
so.
skew nostalgia high with my top two
You
specifically.
really did.
They just I enjoy those movies. It's
So-
a personal list. I don't
So
know.
I have Moneyball at 3. Tim, you have Moneyball at 2, you say?
Yes, indeed.
And Garion, you had it for... Garion, what's your number 3 movies? Major League?
Major League, yeah.
We'll get to that. Tim, what's your number 3?
You just The Natural.
Oh,
Right,
okay.
we talked about The
We've
Natural.
already talked about The Natural. So number 2 is where I had Bull Durham coming in. Tim, what's your number 2?
Moneyball.
Okay,
Right.
and what's your number 2?
I have The Sandlot at number 2.
The Sandlot. So did The Sandlot make your list, Tim?
No, it did not.
It didn't make my list either, because this is a movie that I
That's fair.
loved when I was 7.
Yeah.
And then I tried to watch it again, just like your number 1 movie.
Yeah.
In my early 20s, and I was like, this movie is fucking garbage.
I don't know if it's garbage. I don't know.
It happens all the time.
I just don't
with all the
care
movies.
anymore.
And look, maybe I'm just so in love with it in that place I was when I was 10 and 11. Like, I was the guy who watched the same Blue Jays World Series VHS tapes over and over and over and over again in the same day. I loved baseball, maybe more when I was 12 than I do now, which is saying something. So maybe I'm just unwilling to pop that bubble. That could be fair. I'm not saying it's the best baseball movie of all time from a critical eye.
No, you're saying it's the second best.
I'm saying it's my second favorite baseball movie. I really love that movie. I've watched it probably 100 times, and I'm okay with it.
Okay.
I'm not going to argue its validity. I'm just saying it's
I'm not
my
going to sit here
second
and tell you
favorite
why.
movie.
Like,
I can see
just
why.
Don't like it.
Look, and that's fair. Like, it's a children's movie. I understand that completely, but it's just in there for me. I don't know.
All right, so let's get to the number ones. Tim, we'll start with your number 1 baseball movie of all time.
Can you guess?
I don't remember what we had.
Pride of the
We had
Yankees.
Pride of the Yankees?
That would be the correct answer.
All right.
We are on opposite ends of the spectrum.
Yeah, you guys really are.
Hey, that's okay.
And that's fine. I mean, listen, the story tells, the most tragic story in baseball. I mean,
Barry
Lou Gehrig-
Bonds not being in the Hall of Fame?
Lou
It's
Gehrig
ludicrous.
was-
It's ludicrous.
there are people, right, who like to say that Derek Jeter was one of the great Yankees. Derek Jeter isn't in the same breath as someone like Lou Gehrig. The Yankee Mount Rushmore is and forever shall be Babe Ruth, Mickey Mantle. You have
David Justice.
No. Of course you have Lou
Chris
Gehrig.
Chambliss.
Joba Chamberlain. Do you know
Phil Hughes.
Phil Hughes. Tim's really big on all the Yankees that didn't get to play against colored people.
Well, you cannot blame these poor people for not being
Yeah,
able
but you can't just elevate them because they played a bunch of loser white guys.
There is no serious baseball fan who would put any Yankee post 1950, other than post 1970, in the same category as those guys. Just no one would. I mean, for forever, it was Lou Gehrig who held the all-time record for most consecutive games played, and for his career to end as it did.
That's not a great record to have.
That's not a bad record to have.
But it's just one of those things where it's like, I'm not taking away from Gehrig, but
what do you have against punctuality?
It defines baseball, the being there every single day and playing. No matter how you're feeling or what you're going through, you show up and you play your position. And of course, it has in the movie the most iconic moment in all of sports film, which is Lou Gehrig's speech.
Oh, I thought you meant when Willie Mays Hayes had to do the pop-up, then he had to do the push-ups.
It is impossible to consider another moment in sports film that could be as
No. I would say at this point, the Al Pacino speech from Any Given Sunday is probably more like ingrained into the culture. Just because we're not 150 fucking years old. Tim.
I don't know. I think there's a certain validity to Tim's point, just in the sense of like when you think about this movie and say the word today, you're instantly gonna go, hey. It's a very, very big moment in a sports movie.
This movie is bigger for people who don't like what baseball's become.
Oh, I'm 100%. It's not inside my top 10. Tim likes living in the past.
I like the movie. I think
is
it's
the sort of
important,
person,
iconic movie, but like favorite baseball movie? No.
Again, Tim is the sort of person who 10 years from now, when we're talking about Mike Trout's Hall of Fame candidacy, Tim's the kind of person who's gonna be like, well, he can't be the greatest player of all time because he didn't play in 1942. It's like, no, Tim,
he's not the greatest player of all time because he isn't Babe Ruth.
No, because he's not Barry Bonds.
He's not Babe Ruth.
Barry Bonds is so much better than
Babe Ruth.
He's so much better than everyone ever. It's not even close.
Babe Ruth
closing in on him.
Trout's closing in on him. Sure.
Ruth used to hit more home runs in a season than teams hit in a season.
So again, let's speak to the quality of this competition here, Tim.
Thankfully, the advanced statistics also back Babe Ruth, who has the highest career WAR of all time.
WAR is a cumulative stat. I'm saying 10 years from now, because Trout is on pace to beat that.
If Trout surpasses him, I will be open to that discussion.
Okay. I just feel like nostalgia's really gonna weigh heavily on your.
But nostalgia should matter. Ruth, Mantle, DiMaggio.
But it can't matter when you're arguing for someone who just retired because they don't get that part of the argument. That's just bonus points to someone because they happen to be born 100 years past.
Yeah, because they're dead. And they also
David could not star in a movie.
Yeah, he could not open a movie today.
I am wholly willing to listen to the argument if Mike Trout actually accomplishes the stuff Babe Ruth accomplished. And I mean, part of that has to be start winning in the postseason.
Baseball is the one sport you can't use championships for.
Well, but
I would.
So basically, what you're saying is that if you didn't play on the Yankees in the 20s, like you're just shit. That's your argument.
So you win 27 championships.
Yeah, you're garbage.
If you've won 0 postseason games in your career, you cannot in any serious way claim to be the best baseball.
Why? When do we turn baseball players into how we judge fucking quarterbacks?
It's not the only thing to matter, but
apparently it is. Can't be good. Didn't do it.
If you think that it is even remotely feasible that somebody who never won a game in an expanded
is
the best baseball player ever. That
baseball, as we know, is the sport that actually you need everyone to kind of be good.
Well, these days everyone gets in the baseball playoffs. Back then, you only made the World Series, and that was it.
How many teams were in the league back then, Tim?
Pardon me?
How many teams were in the league?
Yeah, that doesn't matter. Black people couldn't play. Doesn't matter. No Caribbean people. Doesn't matter. No Japanese people. Doesn't matter.
The only playoffs were the World Series. Now there's 3-4 rounds of the playoffs. Really,
Babe Ruth was actually paid full time to be a player, and the jabronis he was playing against were like movers for like the first 9 hours of the day. Then they had to show up to the ballpark. How good could this competition have been?
Yeah, you're right. Ted Williams, what an absolute fool. Man, I mean, it's just not you don't have the respect.
I'm sorry, there's another one player. You're
Stand
fucking
in-
ludicrous. Your arguments are just astonishing to me.
It's not astonishing. Like I'm saying it's conventional wisdom. You're taking
You're taking I'm white power, Tim. Babe Ruth's the best.
That is a terrible thing to say, and you don't mean it.
No, that sounds like what your argument is.
What I'm saying is that by the numbers and by less analytical means, Babe Ruth was clearly the best baseball player of all.
Well, you know who the best basketball players are? The Harlem Globetrotters.
They're very talented.
Yeah, they win all the championships. They win the best. Listen,
Did lose that one time though.
I know.
I tend to hold that
But I
against
mean, they play against the stiffest competition. 8 white guys.
No, but I would put Bill Russell as the best basketball player ever.
Yeah, and you're probably right.
Look, he's in the top 5. No one's arguing that.
But the level of competition has to be factored in here.
Yeah, I just
and
think
the Yankees had all the best players.
If you stuck
You're not
LeBron in the
factoring it in, you're saying it's the only thing that
1960s,
matters.
people would be
No,
freaking out.
you're discrediting all these people. Now, when the stakes
I'm discrediting.
you are. I mean, Babe Ruth clearly the best player of all time.
But
he's not clearly
This
the
is
best player of all time.
an entirely different conversation for a different show, because this could go on forever. But no, look, Pride of the Yankees is a very good film. I just think it again fits that mold of movie that I assume Tim would have very high on his list, that supports the narrative that baseball was better back when the dead ball era was upon us, because it just had good values back then.
I wouldn't say it was better, but there is something that we are missing from those days now in terms of like the
Color.
the gallantry of baseball. I don't know. I'm just
Across the
every
board.
generation has a
Across
new
the
lesson
board.
to teach us. Every generation
Walls.
of sports has a new lesson to teach us. Like we're learning stuff now about analytics that are great and have made the game a lot better. And I would never go back from that. But there were lessons to be learned in the 50s, in the 80s, in the turn of the century that we've forgotten as time went on. And I think that there are values in each of these generations. And one of the things that this era teaches you is about sort of stick-to-itiveness and honor that I think the game has lost. And that doesn't mean like we should ever go back to it, but we should not forget some of the lessons that were taught to us.
I don't need to remember anything because it's almost 2020. And if I forget something, I can just look it up on my phone. So much easier.
Yeah, that is not what the word remember means in that sense. But anyway.
I will say, to have a disease named after you, you probably kicked some ass.
Yeah.
Do you feel like the doctor who discovered Lou Gehrig's disease
Is
feels
real
like
mad?
he got shafted?
Yeah. That it just happened to be a famous person who got
Yeah.
it first? Yo, I never thought about that. Interesting.
Because we never hear about that person. Now, do you think the disease gets its name changed when someone comes up with a cure for it?
No. But again, it was called that because at the time, other than like a champion boxer, no one in the world could be bigger than maybe other than the president of the United States. No one in America could be bigger than a big baseball
Well, it was called that because he had it.
Yeah,
had it,
that's true.
but it stuck, and people continued to use the term because you'd have to be that famous for it to continue to be called after you.
Now, when you talk about no one being bigger except for potentially some boxers or the president, are we talking about this because it was potentially right around the Taft era?
It wasn't just around the Taft era. He passed away in the 40s. President Roosevelt was in that.
It's a joke. You can calm down. Quit
Well, no.
Quit, why don't you quit? Why don't you quit being triggered about things that happened 80 years
I'm
ago,
not-
Tim?
I'm not triggered.
I
but
mean,
again,
if there's
somebody
one,
here has
if
to
there's one
raise
thing,
the-
if you're going to be nostalgic, you also can't be a snowflake at the same time.
I'm not being a snowflake. I'm just standing up for some of us understand the importance of things that happened 3 seconds ago that that aren't in the current present. And so, God forbid, I stand up for the past in some way.
It's a fine movie. I don't know. It's all right. It's
not
just
the best
not.
ba-
It's
it's
just
not
it's
the
not gonna
best-
make my top
It's
10.
also not the best baseball.
Garion,
Garion, you're number one.
people aren't gonna agree with me. Jonah Carey will agree with me.
Should we call him right now?
Just get him on the phone. Little Big League, and I think this speaks, and this is why it's a personal list, but very much to who I felt I was when I was 11.
Wait, Little Big League's the one where he runs the Twins, right?
Yeah.
Not the one where the loser from American Pie pitches for the Cubs after he gets his
No,
arm
that's
broken?
Rookie of the Year.
Rookie of the Year.
Little Big League, I think it actually, it's very informative about the managerial process of baseball. I really think it is. I just like the sense that it's almost ahead of its time in the way that it spoke to, if there's someone with a new form of thinking who is more informed on the goings-on of the game. It shouldn't matter when their philosophies came into play. If it's a better way to do it, it's a better way to do it. It's in a weird way a sabermetric movie.
So you like what this movie represents, potentially more than the movie itself.
Maybe. I also just kind of like the movie. I think it's got half of the Weekend at Bernie's crew. So already.
You made a movie?
So already, I think it's great. I don't know. There's a great montage in it, set to run around Sue. Ken Griffey Jr.
Yeah, I gotta say, you do have Griffey in it.
And Randy Johnson make great cameos.
It was around the same time, too, that my dad had the exact same facial hair as Randy Johnson
That's
did.
terrifying in a way.
Oh, listen,
The hanger?
I have a confirmation picture with my dad. It's him, like, wearing a suit and tie and sunglasses and the Randy Johnson handlebar mustache. And he looks like an assassin.
Yeah. I could definitely
Terrifying
see that.
individual.
Yeah, I just enjoy the movie. I think, and I do think it's one of the most realistic representations of baseball in terms of the scenes themselves.
They would not have waited around to give him an applause at the end of the movie.
Not
realistic whatsoever.
The baseball scenes themselves, like many of the actors who played like the more bit parts on the team were former minor league baseball players. Like they actually were the ones in the montages, like running down fly balls and taking the swings at the plate. Like, you know,
hey, Rookie of the Year had John Kruk.
Did it?
Wasn't that John Kruk at the end who we struck out with the
No,
overhand
that was
pitch?
just some big fat actor
who
who was supposed to be
I just
John
assumed
Kruk.
it was John Kruk.
I think Barry Bonds is in Rookie of the Year though. He has like
I
a
thought I
brief
should have had it
line.
higher on my list. I don't remember.
I'm pretty sure skinny pirate Barry Bonds appears in Rookie of the Year.
Okay.
Yeah, but I think it's a pretty honest representation of baseball.
Didn't make my list.
It's fair.
Clearly,
I don't expect people.
Was it in consideration for your list, Tim?
No, I mean I have nothing against it, but just it doesn't crack my list.
All right, so let's go to the real number one movie.
It's hard to argue with.
About baseball of all time. Fan favorite movie. A funny movie. It's Major League. Come on.
It's very fun. It's my number 3.
Yeah.
I like Major League a lot.
I don't want to criticize it too much because I really enjoy that.
Who doesn't love Major League?
But I haven't seen it in about
Native
10
Americans.
Years.
Well, then they don't like the Cleveland Indians either.
Yeah, it's true.
I haven't seen it in like 10 years, and I fear that it might not hold up. But I haven't seen it.
I have.
I think
I
the
watch
only-
it probably almost every year. This was another TBS movie that was always
honestly
on.
the only thing about it that you could ever nitpick in terms of it doesn't hold up is like there are some moments that are a little 90s tone deaf, but that's just going to happen in
What came
movies
out
that are
in
from
the
the
90s?
90s. Exactly. So yeah, there are just some things where you're like, I don't know if that would have been in a movie now, but it's fine.
But Tim, you want to talk up like great casts in these movies, and that's why they
Rene
get
Russo in this?
Rene Russo, you
Right.
got Charlie Sheen, Tom Berenger, Corbin Burnson.
Corbin Burnson.
Like,
Yeah.
it's just the greatest. So I don't think I really need to make my case for Major League because
But actually, I'm very glad that we picked the 3 movies we did because I think it's very emblematic of who we are as sort of thinkers, whether it be comedic with yours, more analytical with Garion's, or more sort of tethered to tradition with mine. I think it actually organically kind of worked out.
It's true.
Yeah.
And the big thing that I know about Tim's stuff in his number one movie is, you know who couldn't open a movie today? Lou Gehrig.
No, but Babe Ruth was in the movie, and he could have. Probably the best athlete of the 20th century, not named Muhammad Ali or Secretariat. So
That's, again,
I really-
he's going to rope you in. This will happen.
I know this will happen, but all I'll say is this, and we'll save this for another show. Muhammad Ali is the most overrated athlete of all time.
Interesting.
If he didn't oppose Vietnam and go to jail, no one would give a shit.
I think you have a solid point.
not taking the bait.
You are projecting his social importance onto him being an athlete, and that's not where we rank the top athletes of the century. That's my only case against
Do you think Jackie's overrated?
Robinson?
Yeah.
Well, is he one of the best 10 baseball players ever? No.
Yeah.
Ricky Henderson's better than Jackie Robinson.
Yeah. It's true. It's
You when we talk about like best athletes, now if it's like most memorable athletes,
yeah, it's a different
that's a different conversation.
Yeah.
Or most important.
Important, sure.
Yes.
Important's a different
Yes.
thing, but people say best athletes, like, oh, clearly Muhammad Ali. It's like, no, he's not.
Yeah, Tyson was
Fuck, he lost to Joe Frazier.
And then he beat Joe Frazier
Sure.
2 consecutive.
Sure.
He was the greatest.
He wasn't the greatest. Just because he called himself the greatest. Tim, I think that really got into your head.
I love
Tim
him. I
calls
love that
himself the
movie.
tribute to the
I love that
people.
movie, too.
Oh, when we get... Oh, then you definitely
Wait.
need to be on the boxing one.
Wait,
Ali
wait.
sucks.
That is not
That's
a good
terrible
movie.
Well, I
movie.
hope you are, because the boxing will be the most interesting.
I-
Boxing's like the perfect movie.
You should let. I'm not going to be on that
No,
one.
no.
I watched
well,
enough boxing
I was
movies.
actually going to get Erdman to come in and do
Do
that
love
one.
Creed though. I will talk up Creed all day long.
I think
a lovely-
Creed. I think Creed's actually the best of the Rocky movies.
Sylvester Stallone is amazing in Creed.
He's very good.
Yeah, that's very good.
So,
After Rocky
as a tease for
original,
that show, you know what my favorite scene is in Ali? The only one. The one where he's running through the streets that goes on for 85 minutes. Fuck, that's a
Oh,
bad
now.
movie. It's such a bad movie. The only good part of that movie is Jamie Foxx.
he shook up the world. Love that movie. That's an athlete. That's an athlete. Muhammad Ali. And Lou Gehrig and Babe Ruth.
And
And Secretariat.
Well, yeah.
Like, who is better at their sport, Tim? Muhammad Ali or Wayne Gretzky? Wayne Gretzky was. He was! No! Wayne Gretzky was, definitively.
Gretzky couldn't be hit. I mean, we can have this conversation, but like, there were rules that protected Wayne Gretzky.
So he was so good, he got his own custom rules. Jack Nicklaus had a more impressive career than Muhammad Ali did.
No, I don't think that's true.
It is true. Just look at the results.
Well, I mean,
Again, you're just putting social importance onto this.
thankfully, your demographic is under the age of 40, because people over the age of 40, they heard you say bad things about Muhammad Ali, would storm the barricades like this was the Bastille.
Yeah, but it shouldn't just be a matter of principle.
Yeah. And I'm talking about it's not like I'm talking like if I say someone like Jack Nicklaus or Wayne Gretzky. It's not like I'm talking about athletes from my generation.
Or people, or hot takes about the greatest athletes in their particular
Yeah,
sports.
I'm just saying that I think as an athlete and his athletic accomplishment, Muhammad Ali's overrated. If he wasn't
Well,
such a good
I'm
interview,
glad-
it didn't have the social importance that he did.
I look forward to the
People-
boxing one because I will come armed with a strong statistical argument for that.
How
So let's
about
postpone-
Rocky Marciano, better than Muhammad Ali?
We will postpone this conversation.
All right, we'll see. And I know people will be mad at me for it. I've never gotten it. It doesn't make sense to me.
It's fair.
Now, Secretariat.
Couldn't be stopped.
Let's talk. All right,
Even the consistency of the glue.
it did.
That's a
good
terrible
It,
glue.
thing.
it wasn't real crazy though. It wasn't as sticky as
It was
it should have
sensible
been.
glue.
It was sensible glue. That's true.
Don't talk
Did
about
sensible-
Sensible,
Red Dot, man.
heroic glue.
Although, good glove.
Yeah.
Made a good glove. And normally they just use cows for that. They're like, Secretariat's
No.
so good. We need to reuse every part of this.
Actually, did you know that they made Babe Ruth's glove out of Secretariat's remains? And much like Roy Hobbs' bat,
You
that's
even
what
know
gave
what
Babe Ruth
Secretariat
his
race.
power. I do.
You get so triggered.
I know.
Very triggered all the time. It's funny that a millennial has the takes that he has. For being such an entitled millennial that he only cares. Maybe that's
none
part
of those
maybe
things.
that's a part of his hipsterness that he only cares about things that are in the 1920s.
Yeah.
That's why he
Not
walks.
it.
Like
that's,
thin mustaches.
that's why he always walks around talking about like getting on the trolley. Like
That's
that's
why he
why
wears-
you talk in that 1920 slang, isn't it?
And he has those jaunty chapeaus.
That's true. All right, that'll do it.
I am not
Best
taking the bait.
baseball movie rankings. I want to thank Tim Undergust.
Tim Andergust.
That is not my name.
For contributing to the show and representing the demographic, most of which could not open a movie anymore because they're dead. So
I
thank
should
you.
never have said that line. I regret it.
Walter Matthau. Couldn't open a movie today.
Not arguing.
Well, you know, I could probably open a movie today if I tried, but I'm too busy being dead.
Is that you? Was that you doing an impression of you?
That was me doing an impression of Walter Matthau, which
But-
was pretty good.
I think it just sounded like you.
No, I don't think so.
It almost sounds like my
It
Richard
sounds
Nixon.
like a sea captain that would be on the box of like frozen fish fingers.
Don't talk about Captain Highlander that way. He provides great, economically efficient fish sticks to the people. Not everyone, Garion, is so fancy that they can just go and eat at the finest fisheries around. How dare you besmirch Captain Highlander? Although
Highliner.
whatever. No one fucking cares, Dave. No one's eating that garbage.
I like it.
Of course you do. Garion Thorne, thank you for being on the show.
No problem.
And contributing to the baseball. And for everyone who stuck through it this far, please leave your rankings down in the comment section. Try not to be too triggered by anything that any of us said. This is a subjective list for fun time, so leave your list in the comment section, and thank you for watching. Subscribe to the Pat Mayo Experience audio versions wherever you can download podcasts, because there's going to be a whole bunch of these coming out for each sport. Then we'll get to the big climax at the end. Maybe it'll be a bracket, maybe it'll just be a list. We'll see. All right, I'm Pat Mayo. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.
Pat Mayo Experience! Experience!